Welcome back to MMA a la Vodka. I'm your host, Doink the Clown, and I'm here to break down UFC Perth. Let's just call it UFC Perth. I miss the UFC already. We just went one weekend without it. The last sporting event I saw was Canelo versus Crawford. And I have to say, boxing altogether fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. Especially when you watch it right after UFC Noche. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this event. Let's break it down. All right. Okay, opening up the card, we have Ellison taking on Bronco Sikatic. My prediction here is Brando Pericic wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by round 2 TKO. What? Bronco? I'm going to go with Brando because, I think he's the bigger man. I know he's the bigger man. I know he trains with an excellent team with City Kickboxing. Ellison doesn't have a bad team either, Combat Sports and Fitness. But I expect Brando to be getting the better work with better guys, bigger guys. And also, Brando Pericic, just with his size and physicality and with the way he fights, from what I've seen, I expect him to be the better man down the stretch. And when I say down the stretch, I mean like the 4-minute mark of round 1, but certainly round 2. I think neither one of these guys is to be relied upon if they're in a competitive fight that hits round 2, because as professionals, they've only been there once, each under very similar circumstances, but they both lost in round 2. Each guy's got one loss. It was in round 2 in their third fight. They were 2-0. And they both lost by submission. And they were both doing well in their fights. Brando Pericic fought this guy, Randall Rayment, and that guy was like 13-3, fighting a 2-0 fighter. He doesn't have the prettiest resume, but he still has a very pretty record at 13-3, and that's bona fide experience. And that's why he won that fight. Brando knocked him down with a jab and had him hurt and was really bullying him physically. And the guy Randall survived, scrambled out of some bad spots, and was the last man standing early in round 2, and was able to start tagging Brando and get on top of him and eventually submit him. And it's a loss that could totally be attributed to experience / cardio, because again, he was doing well until he wasn't. And the same goes for Ellison's loss to Dave Pearson, which Sherdog has listed as a round 1 loss, but it's round 2. It's a round 2 side choke, as Topology would call it, or Josh Barnett maybe, but it's also known as an arm triangle. The guy Dave Pearson was a step and a half behind as well, and then in the end of round 1, where Ellison had slowed down and gassed himself out, he ended up getting dropped. He kind of got steamrolled with a barrage and knocked down against the cage. And he was gassed getting up going into round 2. The same thing happened, and he got put into an arm triangle choke or a side choke and tapped within a minute in round 2. The guy was more experienced. The guy Dave Pearson doesn't look to be a bad fighter at all, but it was his experience combined with cardio, just like the Randall Raymond loss for Brando Pericic. So even though they've gone longer in 3-minute round amateur fights, they're still not to be relied upon if they're in a competitive fight here in round 2. Neither guy, frankly. But I think Pericic is going to be the better man. Again, I know he's the bigger man. I think he's training with better guys. And I think Ellison is going to be the guy that has to rely on movement to make things happen. He seems to have nice, heavy low kicks, but I don't know if that's going to be an option against Brando with the reach, which, by the way, I don't know the reach. I don't know why the fuck I'm talking about it, but he's 5-6 inches taller. I'm assuming reach is on his side. And I think Ellison will be able to make things happen early, but slow down, and Brando will still be there. And by the way, I don't want to make Brando out to be a total plodding zombie. This is a guy that I've seen out-sprint Volkanovski, unless that was AI. but he's definitely not bad at all athletically. But I just think Elijah, with his size disadvantage, is going to be forced to make things happen with movement and feints and all kinds of horseshit. And Brando is going to be able to manage his energy better. And I think, look, I'm expecting a striking fight. This fight could end via arm triangle choke. It could end via triangle choke. These guys are just getting going, and they're training hard. I'm sure they're training hard to mitigate that one similar loss that they have when they were 2-0. So it's not like it's not like they're not aware of what cost them that fight. So I don't know exactly who these guys are going to be, but I definitely favor Brando Pericic. God, why can't I stop fucking talking? Yeah, Brando's the pick. I haven't bet on him, but I'm definitely considering it. Now he's inside 2-1 again, and his odds are coming down. They're getting a little tighter. I do favor Brando. But in general, I do favor this ending by TKO within the first 2 rounds. The line is set at 1.5 rounds. Under is -230. It's not enticing enough for me. Maybe I'll play under 2.5 rounds at -5,000 and use that as a parlay or something. But yeah, in general, I'm going to wait for everything to become available in the next few days and see if there's a way to cover my prediction with a bet. Again, I don't trust either guy. As pros, their fights look one way as victories, and the one way is a defeat. But I do favor Brando, so I'm going with him. Next up, we have Michelle Montague taking on Luana Carolina. My prediction for this fight is Michelle Montague wins, and I'm going to go with her winning by submission in round 1. I'm not too confident in that specific prediction. This is a matchup that's got a few different angles to it. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. But Michelle Montague is the stronger woman. She's coming down from 145 to 135 here, and Luana Carolina's come up from 125. So I think, without having seen them side by side, Montague is going to win the bear hug contest. And she's the girl that's going to be looking for the bear hug to begin with. She's got 6 finishes as a pro. Well, 6 victories, all 6 finishes. All 6 finishes are by rear naked choke. And that's why I'll go with a rear naked choke for this one here. But Luana Carolina, she wins the UFC levels bullshit thing. She's higher up on the ladder. She's got nothing but forgivable losses, and she's got a few very impressive victories. But I still think it's just going to be a stylistic nightmare when Michelle Montague gets on top of her. Luana Carolina, she's definitely not the greatest grappler, but she's only been submitted once, and it was much more of an opportunistic submission for Ariane Lipski, who got her out of there with a knee bar in 90 seconds. It was sitting right in front of her, and she scooped it up like Sakuraba. But that's obviously a very unique submission and a very unique position. And not that Michelle Montague can't make that happen. She's got knee bars. But here, I think it looks a lot more methodical. Luana Carolina, even though she's on a 3-fight winning streak, and she's definitely proven herself to be a viable 15-minute fighter, she's going to be giving up takedowns. She gives up takedowns in a lot of her fights. And here, I think Michelle Montague has really good takedowns. She does set them up from the orthodox stance. It's a bit of a tell, in my opinion. I'm sure her team is all over that, Luana. Or maybe not. Maybe they should have hired me. But yeah, she does have a tell there. But she's still so physically strong, and she's got great entries that I think even if the tell is being read, once they're in tight, she's going to have that bear hug strength. But no doubt, if these two are fighting on the feet, I favor Luana Carolina. And I guess if you told me if they fought 15 minutes, it's a toss-up. I think Luana Carolina is more comfortable, more proven, more, energetic with being the smaller girl moving up. But I do think Michelle Montague also can win with just a few takedowns, a few bear hugs. So yeah, I'm going with Montague, and I played the under because I consider that a bet on Michelle Montague, but nothing really seriously. I'm going to wait for everything to present itself and see if I want to bet on this. But again, it's tough to gauge this matchup here. Luana Carolina is the much more proven fighter, but she's fighting a bigger, stronger girl who I think stylistically presents a shitty matchup if things are going her way. She's a problem for Luana Carolina. This is a girl that, and Montague can handle herself on the feet, no doubt. And she can even be really aggressive and looks like she's going for it there. But plan A, I would think, is always going to be submission. And that I think is going to be a problem for Luana Carolina, fighting a very willing grappler. So Montague is the pick. I'll go with it happening by round one submission or whatever the fuck I said before, just to remain consistent. But yeah, I'll wait to see everything before making more plays. All right, next up we have Rolando Bedoya versus Jamie Mullarkey. My pick here is Rolando Bedoya wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by knockout in round 3. And by knockout, I mean TKO. But either way, finish. I'm picking a finish because I don't have trust in the durability of Jamie Mullarkey. But I'm aware that Rolando Bedoya is not exactly Mr. Concussive Power. He doesn't exactly sit down on every strike, and he's definitely not in the class of danger that the guys who have finished Jamie Mullarkey are in. But I'm still picking him to get a finish because even though he doesn't sit down on every strike, he's got a bunch of great traits. I know he'll be there for 15 minutes. And if you slow down, he'll pick up that volume, and volume can produce a finish as well. And that's really how I see this fight going. I've bet on Rolando Bedoya. The odds are even. It's a total toss-up. But I have to say, I consider Jamie Mullarkey's only path to victory to be decision. And I think he'd get there most easily by mixing in takedowns. But I think in one way or another, his only path to victory is decision. And based on that, I'd be excited to play the point spread of Rolando Bedoya. Him with some plus points. It's a toss-up, as far as the money line goes, so it shouldn't be that bad of a price. But when you consider his traits, I think it's a great play. I think it's definitely going to be close if he loses, unless he's just pinned for 15 minutes, which is a possibility. But I still think Rolando Bedoya's got enough hustle in him where he'll be the better man down the stretch. And I've got him at the very least losing a decision, and at the very most closing the show with a finish in round 3 or whatever the fuck I said. But yeah, I'm going with Bedoya. Jamie Mullarkey, I do think he's got to mix in takedowns. I think that'd be his best course of action here. And of course, he's got the crowd on his side. I'm aware they're going to be cheering everything he does. So if the fight's close enough, definitely a half a point goes in the favor of Jamie Mullarkey. But I do think Rolando Bedoya is just going to take over this fight. I think he's going to speed up as Mullarkey slows down. And Mullarkey, look, he's 31 years old. It's not like he's well past it. His chin is well past it. His chin is 41. But Mullarkey, athletically, he's still theoretically in his prime. But no doubt Bedoya's there, and no doubt Bedoya's incredibly healthy. He's never been finished. He's got all 3 of his 4 losses coming in the UFC. And in my opinion, he arguably beat Chaos Williams. Really could have gone either way. And just standing up to the danger of Chaos Williams was impressive enough. But yeah, I think Rolando Bedoya is underrated. He's 0-3. Things aren't looking too pretty. And I do think this is a close matchup. But I think Mullarkey's got one way to win, and it's slowing this fight down. And I think Rolando Bedoya wins everything else. I've got him closing the show with a finish. Maybe I'll go reaching for props. But again, the thing I'm most confident in will be the point spread, even though I haven't seen the odds. So maybe I won't be confident at all. But that's what I'll be looking for. Rolando Bedoya by whatever the fuck is the pick. On to the next one. Next up, we have Colby Thicknesse versus Josias Musasa. My prediction here is Josias Musasa wins. And I'm going to go with him winning by decision. And I certainly have no confidence in that prediction whatsoever. First of all, he's a very fucking dangerous guy, where I certainly wouldn't be looking to bet on decision or anything that covers a decision victory, because even though he won his last victory by decision, Josias, all 7 of his other victories are knockouts. He's a very dangerous guy. But Colby Thicknesse seems to be pretty damn tough. So even though he's got the crowd rooting for him, I'm picking him to lose a decision. I think Josias Musasa is going to be much better when he's firing on all cylinders at range. I think he's the quicker guy, the better athlete, and the more dangerous guy. And also, he's got 5 inches of reach, which I know about. The rest is all speculation and horseshit. But I still think he's going to have a distinct advantage early on. And of course, I can't be too confident in him because he's coming off of a club and sub loss to Carlos Vera. And even though the club kind of forgives the sub a little bit, if you want to make excuses, it still was a pretty bad look and a 3-minute loss. And on top of that, even though Josias Musasa is coming off of a victory before that by decision, he's not the most reliable 15-minute fighter. Again, that was a close fight, really, that Contender Series fight. And that's the only one that went the distance. Every other fight of his is him steamrolling his opponents. Colby Thicknesse, not that he's beaten the who's who of MMA, even in the Aussie realm, but he's definitely comfortable going the distance. He had 4 long fights to begin his career, or 3 out of 4 went the distance. And of course, for the first time as a pro, he went the distance in a losing effort against Alexander Topuria in his last fight. So in general, I just expect him to be able to outlast Musasa if this fight goes long. But Musasa will still be at a distinct advantage early on, and he's dangerous enough where, of course, I'm not married to decision. If somebody's getting knocked out early, I'd pick it to be Colby Thicknesse, despite Carlos Vera knocking down and subbing Musasa in his last fight. But altogether, I have to favor Josias Musasa. I don't think he's likely to duplicate the success of Alexander Topuria, but I think he's a big problem at range, and I think he'll be at a big advantage when he's firing on all cylinders. That'll narrow as the fight goes on, but I'm still picking him to win. So yeah, Josias Musasa is the pick, and as for the bet, no bet here. I don't trust the under, the over, or anything. Colby Thicknesse, I think, is a durable guy, and again, I expect him to outlast Musasa once that athleticism wears off. So, under other circumstances, I'd be looking to play his point spread, but Musasa is too dangerous for me to trust him not getting finished, and of course, both of these guys are really just getting going, at least as UFC fighters. So we haven't seen everything, which means I'm not trusting anything. All right. Next up, we have Cameron Rowston taking on Andre Petroski. And yet again, I'm picking against the hometown guy because I didn't learn from UFC Noche when the Mexican fighters went 6-0. But yeah, I'm going with Andre Petroski here, and I'm going to take him winning by decision. And I'm semi-confident in Andre Petroski. I'm not exactly married to decision because he's a pretty dangerous guy himself, especially when he's all over you on the ground. But yeah, I'll pick him winning by decision. Rowston, he's 12-3. He's got 1 loss by TKO and 2 by decision. All to good fighters. In his second fight as a pro, he lost to Jacob Malkoun, who I don't know what the fuck is going on with him, but he's still a good UFC fighter. He lost to this guy, E.C. Fitikfukitu, who knocked him out in 3 minutes. I believe that was after a separation. He got hit with a big overhand right. And he lost to Torres Finney on the Contender Series last year, who is currently in the UFC, I believe. But yeah, Torres Finney, that was a fight where Torres won and got denied. I forget if he took that on short notice or whatever. But I see a lot of the success he had out wrestling Cam Rowston. I've got Andre Petroski winning that type of fight. Andre Petroski may not have the stature of Torres Finney, but he's a good wrestler. He can get in under your hips, and he's a few inches shorter than Battle Giraffe Cam Rowston, who's 6'3". And I think Petroski is the sharper, faster athlete where he'll be able to get in on him. And of course, at range, I don't trust Petroski. I have doubt in his durability, and I've had doubt in his cardio and overall spirit and all that horse shit. Spirit? The fuck am I talking about here? I don't know, but whatever it is, you'll hear me mention it again when I'm talking about Rodolfo Bellato in a few minutes. But yeah, Andre Petroski, even though I've had doubts about him, he's still a very good, well-rounded fighter. He can handle himself on the feet, and he's more than just an overhand right wrestler. But I do think he stands to gain a lot from tying up Cam Rowston, making this a physical grappling match. And Petroski, I expect at the very least to be able to hold him down, if not go through him on the ground. And on the feet, I'd favor Cam Rowston to get the finish just because of the doubt I have in Petroski. But of course, Petroski's fought a lot of really good fighters. And it's been a lot of really good fighters that have been able to get him out of there. And he hits pretty fucking hard himself. So it's not like he couldn't go through Rowston on the feet. But I think that's where he's going to run into the most trouble, even though Rowston is a guy that's got plenty of submissions. He's not a striker first and foremost or anything. I just think in this matchup, he's playing the role of a striker. And I don't think he's going to be able to get too many advantageous positions over Andre Petroski. But yeah, Petroski, he's been tapped before. He's a guy who's had struggles with cardio, where, coming into the round 2 against Brian Battle, he ended up getting ninja choked on the Ultimate Fighter semifinals. And he had a similar round 2 collapse against Aaron Jeffrey, who's a fucking awesome fighter. Really, really good fighter. But yeah, after that, he made good on his cardio. Got some nice round 3 finishes in the UFC. And after that, he got finished twice by Michel Pereira, who's a fucking 45-second monster. At least he was. And Jacob Malkoun, who I just mentioned, beat Cam Rowston. He also got that weird fucking TKO knockout fluke thing against Andre Petroski. Whatever the fuck happened there, it's definitely given me more doubt in Petroski altogether. But I still favor Petroski. I think he's in his prime right now. I know he's coming off a loss to Edmund Shabazian, but I think Edmund Shabazian, despite some late collapses for him, he puts it all together very well. And Cam Rowston here is going to be giving up takedowns. And I've got Andre Petroski winning. Petroski is the bet. What is he at right now? Minus 148. I bet on Andre Petroski. The odds are tight enough. And yeah, let's go Andre Petroski. Next up, we have Jonathan Micallef versus Oban Elliott. My prediction for this fight, hold on, let me see where these guys are fighting at him. Oh yeah, I'll go with Oban Elliott, and I'll go with him winning by decision because I'm a jerk off and I'm picking against the hometown guys. Stop me from doing this. I can't stop myself. Oh yeah, I'm going with Oban. The basis for the prediction is, first of all, I don't think he's likely to get out-wrestled by Jonathan Micallef, at least not thoroughly, like he did against fucking Ko or whatever, the Korean Melvin Manhoof or whatever his name is. But he's also got 2 other losses early in his career, Oban Elliott, and they're ground and pound. But in general, I think he's safe from losing that type of fight here. And on the feet, I think he is not a slow, plodding zombie like Kevin Gisay. I think he might outlast Micallef like Gisay. But in general, I think he fares better throughout this whole fight, Oban Elliott. I think he'll do more with leg kicks than Gisay was able to do. And I think he'll outlast Jonathan Micallef and also frustrate him with his hands. Oban Elliott, like I said, he was finished twice against good fighters, Madars Fleminas in 2021 and Mikhail Figlak in 2020. And since then, his only other loss was in his last fight where he was thoroughly out-wrestled. Jonathan Micallef, he's got 1 loss, and it's to Alden Bates, who's a very good fighter and a big fucking physical problem. And that was a round 4 finish in a championship fight for the Hex organization. That was one where Micallef slowed down, ended up getting hurt, I believe, towards the end of the fight, but then in round 4, finally got finished. He was up against a really good, experienced fighter with a lot of fucking danger. But yeah, he's looked good in every other fight he's had. He's definitely a guy that can mix it up. He gets things done on the ground, and he's really good at range too. He was able to take it to Kevin Jesse. He was really beating him up. He knocked him down, but he wasn't able to get him out of there. And in the end, I thought Jesse kind of tightened things up. Just said, "Hey, he's slowed down enough where I can actually throw these hands." And in the end, I guess it was a close fight, but there was no way it was going any way but Jonathan Micallef's way on the scorecards. But here, despite him having the crowd cheering every strike he's going to throw, I am precisely the kind of jerk off who will pick against him. I'm going with Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott's more seasoned. He's very accustomed to fighting longer fights, and he's been doing so in the UFC almost nothing but. Actually, he got a third round knockout. His knockout is in the third round over Basel Hafez. And I think Oban Elliott is going to, at the very least, make this close early and in the end pull away, if not just be too much for Micallef from the beginning. So Oban Elliott is the pick, and yeah, Oban Elliott is the play. He's now a slight favorite. Fuck. I feel like I picked them as underdogs, and then they turn into favorites. All right, you know what? I take all that back. I'm going with Micallef, and I'm going to go with him winning by calf slicer. What do you think? Nah, fuck that. I'm going with Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott is the play. Okay, next up we have Alexia Thainara taking on who the fuck is Konklak Supersara? Oh, it's Loma Lukbunme. Yeah, and I'm going to go with Alexia Thainara. I'm going to take her winning by decision, even though if I'm wrong, I'll take her winning by rear naked choke. But yeah, Alexia Thainara is my pick. I think she's going to be too much for Loma Lukbunme. I think she's going to be really comfortable on the feet where most fighters aren't. They can be thrown off by Loma Lukbunme, but Thainara is really sharp, really fast, and comfortable at range. And I think on the ground, she's going to be too much for Loma Lukbunme, whose grappling has come along throughout her UFC career. Even got a nice submission victory, Loma, but I still think Alexia Thainara is going to be too much. Thainara is she's got really good takedowns. She's got really good cardio, good 15 minutes of hustle in her. And I think she's going to be too strong for Loma Lukbunme, who's always been lacking in physicality. She's got the physicality of an atom weight. And I think when she's up against somebody who's good enough and strong enough to take her down, she's in trouble. It doesn't happen often. You know, the last time she ran into someone who beat her was Lupi Godinez. And Thainara may not be the wrestler Lupi is, but I still think she's going to win that fight in that way. Loma Lukbunme, she's got a lot of momentum, even though she doesn't fight often enough at all. But she does have a 4-fight winning streak going on after that Lupi loss, with solid wins over Denise Gomes, Bruna Brazil, who's the one girl to beat Alexia Thainara, by the way. Got her out of there with a nice guillotine in round 3. That's the first fight I saw of Alexia Thainara, but she's been on my radar since back then, whenever I first broke down Bruna Brazil. And that's the only time she's been beaten. It happened to be by submission, but Alexia Thainara's got excellent submission skills herself. Of course, she went through Molly McCann in her UFC debut, but she also got a nice rear naked choke over Hayani Dos Santos, shucking off an armbar and going after a rear naked in round 2, down the stretch in round 2. So, yeah, I think she's really impressive. I think she's going to be too quick for Loma to use her tricks, and I think she's going to be too strong on the ground. So Alexia Thainara is the pick. I've bet on Alexia Thainara. I would favor her winning by decision, and I'll wait for the props to see if there's something there, but I'm comfortable having bet on her money line. Next up, we have Rodolfo Bellato versus Navajo Stirling. My prediction for this fight. Are you really going to say this shit out loud? I'm going with Adolfo Bellato. And I'm going to go with him winning by round 2 disqualification. See, I think he's going to get hit with a knee, but it's kind of murky. Did he have his arm down? I don't know. He's going to collapse, right? No, all right. I'll go with him winning by round 2 submission. Adolfo Bellato, he is a seek and destroy fighter. He's a fucking wild man. I don't have his trust, even without that fucking performance against Paul Craig. Or I should say, he doesn't have my trust. I have no faith in this guy whatsoever. First of all, even though he's only been stopped twice and they're to the same guy, Vitor the Monster Petrino, he's still been knocked around a bunch. Even in his last few fights, Jimmy Crute, Eor Potieria had him near death. The guy Murtaza Taha Ali, whatever his name is, he dropped him. He's definitely been knocked around, Adolfo Bellato, and I do expect his next loss to be a knockout, whether it comes in this fight or the next one. And that's why I will be excited to bet on the under when under 2.5 rounds comes out. I don't know if I'll be excited because it's going to be negative odds. But the point is, under 1.5 rounds at plus 135, that's not doing it for me. But I do think Adolfo Bellato is one of those live by the sword, die by the sword, or live by the disqualification, die by the disqualification kind of guys. And even though Navajo Stirling has been a 15-minute fighter in the UFC so far, I still would be surprised if this one went the distance. Can't say shocked. But I'm going with Bellato because I think he's the better grappler. And Navajo Stirling, he's definitely mixed things up. He hit some nice takedowns in his last fight, but his grappling is still coming along, I believe. I think I heard an interview with him a few months ago or something where he talked about his grappling coming along. And I'm sure it is, but if that's the case, I'm sure Adolfo Bellato's got better grappling. Adolfo Bellato, like I said, I don't trust this guy. He's been nearly finished in every fucking fight. But in all but 2 of them, he comes back and wins. And he comes back. He's been able to close a show in round 2. Against Eor Potieria and the guy Murtaza Ali. Against Jimmy Crute, he came back and you could argue won the fight. I thought it was a draw, and that's how it was scored. And against Paul Craig, he fucking shit the bed and faked an injury. Again, there's nowhere to go when you revisit that Paul Craig fight. Why the fuck am I picking this guy? I don't know. But I believe there to be a technical advantage on the ground for him. He does have good takedowns. And I do think he gets by round 1. Even if he does get hurt, he's in pretty good shape, considering his track record. Adolfo Bellato, I have bet on him, and I will look for under 2.5 rounds. Under 1.5 is enticing enough because I do think if Navajo Stirling wins, it's by knockout, and I'll take it happening early. I know Navajo Stirling, again, has not been Mr. Knockout in the UFC, but he definitely, I think, if he wins this fight, is about to turn that corner and close the show. But I'm going with Bellato. I'm going with it winning a fucking comeback round 2 submission. I got to say comeback because I know he's going to get fucking hurt. He always gets fucking hurt. Next up, we have Justin Tafa taking on Louis Sutherland. My prediction for this fight is Justin Tafa wins. And I'm going to go with him winning by knockout in round 2. And the basis for the prediction is he's Samoan. And I expect this fight to kind of devolve into a sloppy brawl. And I think when they slow down, Justin Tafa is still going to have that Samoan power. And even though that he's been knocked out twice, finished twice, Justin Tafa, and Louis Sutherland hasn't, I still think Justin Tafa's got a solid chin on him, and I think he'll be able to stand up to the danger of Louis Sutherland. Louis Sutherland's a big, strong, heavyweight man. He's bigger than Justin Tafa. So, of course, there's this inherent danger. But in general, Justin Tafa's the more dangerous guy. He's the more powerful guy, punch for punch. And I think even though he's got one less fight, fewer fight than Louis Sutherland. He's still got UFC experience. A lot of it may be losses, and a lot of his wins, just about every one of his wins, Justin Tafa, means dog shit. Not one of them is still staying afloat in the UFC. But Justin Tafa, his power's still going to be there. And I think here Louis Sutherland is the more likely guy to mix in takedowns. But I don't see him duplicating the success of Carl Williams. I think in general, Tafa's going to be too tough to take down. And on the feet, I think he'll be able to manage Louis Sutherland's offense. He's the bigger guy, and he can lead with some charges. He's the faster guy, probably. But I think Justin Tafa slows him down and knocks him out. Louis Sutherland's got 3 losses. He's never been finished, and he's only lost to good fighters. So that's a good look. 2 of them are in the PFL or Bellator, one of each, but now it's the same fucking thing. And 1 outside, but either way, he's been beaten, he's been slowed down and out-grappled and outstruck, but he's never been finished. And he's shown he can win by decision in 2 of his last 4 fights. He's only got knockouts other than that, 8 knockouts in his 10 victories. But the other 2 decisions come against better guys, or at least one of them's better. This guy, Renato Rangel. And even in that fight and in the other fight, I don't want to make it sound like he looked good in round 3, like a Marab or something, but he didn't look bad for a big, gigantic heavyweight man. He didn't look bad. He wasn't out of shape. And I think, there's no real strikes against him, Louis Sutherland. And on paper, he's very dangerous, but Justin Tafa's more dangerous. And certainly punch for punch, I think he's got more power. And I think unless Louis Sutherland's got a lot sharper takedowns than I've seen from him, he's not going to be able to slow down this fight with Justin Tafa. And on the feet, I've got this fight degenerating or devolving or whatever the fucking word is into a brawl. And at that point, I'm taking the Samoan power and the Samoan chin, even though whatever happened against Talish and Teixeira in the last fight, I don't know, but it wasn't the greatest look, let's be honest. And also, he was knocked out against Jorgen De Castro in his first UFC fight, I believe. So there's strikes against his Samoan chin, but he still looks enough like Mark Hunt where I'm willing to just see him as Mark Hunt. And I'm taking Mark Hunt to knock out Czech Congo at UFC 144 in Japan. What a great fucking event. What? I don't know. Justin Tafa is the pick. Justin Tafa is the play. The under is under 1.5 rounds at plus 114. Nah, I don't like that enough, but at plus money, it's got me saying, hey, I'll wait till under 2.5 rounds shows up in addition to all the props. But at toss-up odds, I like Justin Tafa. Let's get on to the next fucking fight, please. Next up, we have Tom Nolan versus Charlie Campbell. My prediction for this fight is Charlie Campbell wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by knockout in round 2. And I'm not too confident in that prediction, to be honest. I think this one is going to be a very wild fight. I think Charlie Campbell's going to be at a disadvantage early. I think Tom Nolan's a little more ferocious and athletic, but I think Charlie Campbell is a little stronger and more technical. And I've got him not putting his chin on the line like he did against Chris Duncan or leaving it out there. But I've got Charlie Campbell maybe even being a step behind early, but chopping his way in with leg kicks, slowing Nolan down and taking over this fight. And I also think Charlie Campbell, I think both guys can mix it up, but I think Charlie Campbell's stronger in tight and could slow this fight down with grappling as well. I'd be surprised if either guy got a submission here. I think a knockout is the way to go, really, for either guy. But I favor Charlie Campbell here. I think he's got to tame Tom Nolan and then take over this fight. Tom Nolan, though, he's been knocked out once. Each guy's been knocked out once. But Tom Nolan was knocked out against Nicholas Mota. He got caught cold early. I think he was a little too confident there because if he was going to win that fight, it was probably going to be a flashy knockout himself. And he was favored to do so, but he got caught cold by a very dangerous guy, Nicholas Mota, who's often been overlooked and I hope is still in the UFC after that last loss. He was TKO'd as an amateur as well. That's right, a round 3 TKO for Tom Nolan against Aaron McConnell. Tom Nolan slowed down there. He was mixing in a lot of grappling, I believe, in the first half of that fight. And these are 3-minute rounds. And then in round 3, his takedowns had slowed down where he looked a little desperate, I believe. And I think he got hit with a counter uppercut shooting a takedown and eventually got finished. I might be thinking about a totally different fucking fight. I probably am. But either way, it's a round 3 TKO, and his only loss as a pro is a round 1 knockout. So yeah, I think a finish is more likely in for either guy here. And I'm going with Charlie Campbell. I've got him protecting himself, chopping Tom Nolan down, slowing him down, and then making it a less athletic fight. And he takes over with his technique and gets Tom Nolan out of there. Charlie Campbell's a slight underdog. Okay. So, yeah, I play Charlie Campbell here. The under is set at minus 145 for 2.5 rounds. I don't need to see 1.5. I like that. That is definitely the line I like the most. And I favor Charlie Campbell here. Next up, we have Neil Magny versus Jake Matthews. My prediction for this fight is Neil Magny wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by decision. And the basis for the prediction has something to do with Anthony Rocco Martin or something. I don't know. But I've got Neil Magny winning. I've always imagined Neil Magny winning, just being and I can't say I've imagined this matchup, but these are two guys that have been in the welterweight division for a long time now. And I've always put Neil Magny above Jake Matthews. And I guess it has a lot to do with their fights with Anthony Rocco Martin. But that's a thing. Neil Magny has not looked great in general as of late, aside from his last fight where he did look fucking awesome, getting a nice round 2 finish, drowning Zaleski dos Santos, Elizayo Zaleski. But before that was a bunch of rough moments for Neil Magny, where the one win was a Hail Mary victory over Mike Malott, but the other losses were pretty rough. But they were rough because he was fighting killers. He was fighting Carlos Prates and Michael Morales, who, yes, Jake Matthews fought Michael Morales and performed a lot better than Neil Magny did. Magny was hurt badly at the end of round 1 and taken out. But that's a thing. He's lost a really good fighters. Ian Gary kind of threw him around and outclassed him, but Ian Gary's at the tippy top of the division. And even though I think Jake Matthews has stronger striking than Neil Magny, he's got sharper striking. Neil is still a good striker, and he does have 7 inches of reach in this matchup. Jake is the former lightweight. I'm sure Neil fought at lightweight at some point, or maybe not, probably not. But Neil is considerably bigger at 6'3". He may not be the most physically imposing guy, because he is the tall, skinny guy, and I could see him getting ragdolled like Chidi Njokuani did. But in general, Neil Magny's a guy who's fared better with wrestling. And Neil Magny's a guy who, despite being tall and skinny, he's been able to ragdoll guys that were considered better grapplers. Neil Magny's a good, well-rounded guy. It's not like he sucks at grappling. He's been tapped quite a few times, but he's definitely a submission threat himself, especially once he gets you tired. And in this fight, I think Neil manages himself on the feet, maybe even has some moments on the feet. And in general, whether it's grinding in the clinch, hitting takedowns, or just being the better man on the feet and working shit like he did with Jeff Neal, I think Neil Magny down the stretch performs better than Jake Matthews. Jake is no stranger to 15-minute fights. He can handle himself. He's got no cardio issues or whatever. But in general, I've always thought Neil has better cardio. So yeah, I'm taking Neil Magny here. I've got him winning by decision. If he was to get a finish of any sort without any cuts or broken legs, it's probably a round 3 finish here. Matthews has been TKO'd, but from a very heavy top game of Kevin Lee. But in round 3, Neil Magny seems like he's pretty heavy. So maybe a round 3 sprinkle, but in general, I'm playing Neil Magny here. I've played his money line, and I'll wait to see more with the props. Neil Magny, by decision, is the pick. Okay, next up we have Ivan Erslan versus Jimmy Crute. My prediction here is Jimmy Crute wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by submission in round 2. And I'm not too confident in that prediction either. Not confident in any of my predictions. But yeah, look, Jimmy Crute, he is the better grappler here. Each guy's been finished each way a few times. But Jimmy Crute's definitely the more tested fighter, being in the UFC for many years now. I think he's the sharper guy. Jimmy Crute's got skills everywhere, just a little bit of doubt everywhere as well. But Ivan Erslan, so far he's 0-2 in the UFC. He's been able to stand tall. The fight against Iwan Kutalaba was really close, in my opinion. And the fight against Navajo Stirling, not so much. But he certainly looked tough there and showed he could take it. Ivan's been knocked out once and submitted once against two of the better Polish fighters, assuming they're both Polish, which I don't know about. But in general, I think he's a tough guy. And of course, Jimmy Crute isn't without his finish losses either. He's been submitted and knocked out, but submission is not a path to victory here against Ivan Erslan. It's not a path to victory for him. And as for him getting knocked out, it's really only Jamal Hill who closed the show, even though he's been hurt in plenty of other fights. But I think Jimmy Crute should be the sharper fighter when no one's hurt in round 1. And I think he's got options on the ground. And I think if he takes it there early, he can show the difference in their ground game. And that is the prediction. As for the bet, I don't like his money line, which is actually tightening up. Let me pull it up here. It's at minus 185 right now. The fight is tightening up. So I don't know, I guess it's becoming more enticing, but I, in general, don't like it. And for the over-under, it's set at almost even at 1.5 rounds. So this is another one where I'd feel much more confident playing 2.5 rounds. But it's a Jimmy Crute fight. It seems like there's always a chance it ends up in some majority decision, majority draw. What the fuck happened? The point deduction and the knockdown and the horse shit. So who knows? But yeah, I'm going to take Jimmy Crute by submission in round fuck, whatever I said. Next up in the co-main event, we have Jack Jenkins versus Ramon Taveras. What the fuck is this doing in the co-main event? I mean, it's obviously supposed to be a showcase fight for Jack Jenkins, and that's how I see the fight playing out. My prediction is Jack Jenkins wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by TKO in round 2, but a decision wouldn't surprise me. I think Jack Jenkins is the sharper fighter, the sharper striker. Of course, he was submitted in his last fight against Gabriel Santos, which, even though I like the guy, I like when losses hit the surface again like that, because he was submitted twice early in his career, 7-8 years ago, and there it came back to haunt him again. He got another submission loss. He was also technically TKO'd against Chepe Mariscal, but that wasn't a legit finish. But I think Jack Jenkins is the sharper guy on the feet. I think he's got leg kicks from hell. And I'd also pick him to get the first knockout. Ramon Taveras, of course, has been knocked out against Circuit City, who he beat in a bullshit rematch. He definitely lost that fight. But yes, Circuit City knocked him out. That was 2003. And he was also knocked out with a head kick in 2021. So there's doubt there. I don't want to act like some asshole just, clings to the losses, but when you're betting, you kind of have to. And I do think Ramon Taveras, there's doubt there. Jack Jenkins can crack. He also has really chopping leg kicks. I think he wins the striking battle early or late. If it goes the distance, certainly with the crowd backing him up, I've got him getting the better of Ramon Taveras. So Jack Jenkins is the pick, and Jack Jenkins is the bet. He's minus 278 right now. I don't pour my heart into that, but he is my pick to win. For Ramon Taveras getting a submission, maybe I'll wait for that prop. It's the only way Jack has ever lost. And Ramon Taveras does have 3 subs. One of them's over Martin Day, former UFC fighter, but it's a guillotine in round 1. In general, I think Jack Jenkins will be keeping Taveras off of him. And while he's off of him at range, I've got Jack winning the fight for the 15th fucking time. And in the main event of the evening, we have Carlos Ulberg taking on Dominic Reyes. My prediction here, come on, you know I'm going against the chin. I'm one of these guys, I have to harp on a chin anytime someone's been knocked out more than once. And yeah, even though Dominic Reyes has looked fucking amazing as of late, and you're sitting there going, don't you see his last fucking 4 fights? You're still harping on his chin. I'm still harping on his chin. That's why I'm not picking Ulberg to win by decision. I'm picking him to win by knockout. I'm going to take him winning by knockout, and I'm going to take it happening in round 1. I think the bull's going to get rolling pretty quickly. I'm not married to round 1 knockout, but in general, I think it's going to be a fist fight pretty quickly. I think Dominic Reyes is going to be trying to crowd Carlos Ulberg. I mean, as long as no one gets knocked out in 12 seconds running into a fist fight like Alonzo Menafield, I think Reyes is going to be leading the dance. Ulberg's fine on the back foot, but I think these are 2 big men, and I think they're strikers first and foremost. I think Dominic Reyes is going to be slinging heavy shit, heavy southpaw shit, but I think Carlos Ulberg's going to have right hands to answer, and I think he's going to knock out Dominic Reyes. Reyes, he's looked great, but I don't have to go over the knockout losses. He was knocked out a few times, and I still haven't gotten over it, but clearly he has, because he's looked great as of late, knocking out Dustin Jacoby, most impressively perhaps, and then beating Anthony Smith down, and then knocking out Nikita Krylov, which is perhaps an even more impressive knockout. Nikita Krylov had never been knocked out. He was TKO'd from the full mount against Soa Palele, but Dominic Reyes caught him with a big right hand and looked fantastic doing it. Or was it a left? I don't know. But either way, I think Dominic Reyes, despite looking great, he's going to be the one that's getting clipped here. Carlos Ulberg's been knocked out as well. He was TKO'd against Kennedy and Nzechukwu. Yeah, I'm one of those jerk-offs who interchangeably uses TKO and KO. But that was a fight where he was doing really well until he wasn't. Kennedy Nzechukwu, who's a little shaky himself, was hurt there, and Ulberg wasn't able to go through him. And then Carlos Ulberg slowed down. Kennedy Nzechukwu took over, clipped him with a big combination, and took him out. So Dominic Reyes, he's much more dangerous than Kennedy Nzechukwu. He's definitely capable of beating him, of shutting his lights out. But I think Ulberg is going to be a lot more difficult to corral. I think he's going to be a lot more difficult to tee up for a left hand. And I think Carlos Ulberg is going to be the sniper, even on the back foot. And I've got him landing that first big shot and putting out Dominic Reyes for the 12th fucking time. Carlos Ulberg minus 266. I'll consider that, but in general, I only like the under so far. Under 2.5 rounds, minus 154. Yeah, I think this one's going to get going pretty quickly. And even if Dominic Reyes was the win, I still think it'll happen in the first half of the fight. But Ulberg is the pick. The under is the bet. All that horse shit. Like, share, subscribe.